All righty, here we go. This is a setup. This is my second live video. Um, don't expect anybody to join in, but that's okay. Like I say, I'm trying to do things a little bit differently. But I'd like to start off this video by saying thanks and a shout out to Linda B for my latest subscriber, and particularly my story about how I met my wife. And today, I think I want to touch on that a little bit more because you know, I hope everybody appreciates my regard for Africa is is a very profound circumstance, especially being a black man. It has had a lot of very strong indications in my life that this is something. This is a pursuit, not only a pursuit, but it's something that's absolutely necessary to turn my attention to Africa for answers for the pieces of a puzzle that seem to be missing a lot of pieces here in America. There's a lot of pieces missing in this puzzle, people. There's too many of them. Here's the thing. I just recently read a book, and I'm so glad this book has come around. And the name of the book is Black Root Science. Black Root Science. And I want to give a shout out to the author, but in a lot of ways, it's not even necessary because Africa, it's like, look, Africa's been looking for me. It's been calling to me. I feel that. Like when people feel like they're saved or they're born again or whatever those feelings are, this feeling for me with Africa is so intense. I live it. I mean, I was not born in Africa, but Africa was born in me. That's about the easiest way to put it. But I want to touch a little bit on Black Root Science because Black Root Science has given me answers to questions I have yet to even look for answers to. And it brought them to me. Look, I'll say this much. It may seem a little off topic, but I want to touch on electronics, early in America. Let's face it, white folks did not want us talking too much to each other. So they set up systems to separate us from each other, children from families, brother from sister, mother from father, whatever. They wanted to keep us apart, and they outlawed things that were important to us. And it's important to understand that when they made these laws, they were afraid of something that we might one day find out. Something as simple as who are we as people? What was our history prior to this slave trade? And how the hell did this institution get started? And how did it become such a prominent and foundational premise of the Bible? Why is it a foundation of any religion to enslave people, to steal their humanity, to steal their labor, to steal everything you can from them, to steal their creativity, to steal their land and disregard them as being anybody as viable as somebody who creates nothing but steal from the black man. They steal from us all the damn time. I mean, look, we could talk about slave trade and we could talk about who sold the slaves, who bought the slaves, who's still buying today. But the idea that on this planet There live these biological entities that decide that they should steal from everyone else so they can do what? They can be rich. To lie to you, to steal from you, to kidnap you, to rape you, to rob you, to feed you garbage over and over till you get sick, and then they suck you into their institutions and pretend like they're helping while continuing to exploit your ignorance and how foolish they made you to buy into this system. And we all participate in it and get caught up in it because we are inundated with this system. I mean, there's a beauty in communications because when they outlawed the drums, they weren't thinking about the internet. We don't need the drums, but I'd like to bring the drums back because the drums are important. As you can tell, I am a musically inclined individual. I love playing to rhythms. I love rhythms. I love sounds and sound frequencies. I love them. But there's never been anything more powerful than the black roots that reside in me now, as that those that connect me with Africa. They connect me to the motherland. Now, just recently, with the release of the movie Black Panther, and there was a gentleman in the movie that I think I find very, very interesting. His name is Chief Amachi. So, hello, Chief. If you ever get a chance to hear this, great. But if not, not a big deal because I learned a lot from the Chief as pertains to dreams. Wow, he's talking about these dreams, and I remember this dream, and in that dream, it became real important that my color is very, very important. Very, very important. And amazingly enough, in that dream, before I'd ever went to Africa, in that dream, I noticed that there was this light-skinned, fair-skinned lady walking back to the left of me in this tree. I never, I didn't turn and look at her. I knew she was there. I don't know why she was there. When I woke up, I remember that she was there. She never said a word, but she was following me. When I made the statement, let me go back to the dream one more time. I love this dream because, I've lived with this dream for quite some time now. At any rate, I would place myself back in the United States, maybe in Chicago or Detroit, maybe in the early 1900s, about that time. It seemed like the setting, the furniture, whatever I could tell was in the dream. But I was walking down some boardwalks in the dream, and then in the dream, I crossed the street over into another side of storefronts, and where there was a salon. It was a beauty salon, and it was quite large inside, and there was women along both sides getting their hair done. And so I walked into the door, but as I was walking to the door, that's where the light skinned lady was. It's like I don't know why she's there, but I know she's there. We know that there's something there in the dream. We know this. We all remember this because why? Because that's how dreams are. There's a connection to this dream. Why was I having? I don't know. So anyway, walking down the street, cross the street, going to the salon, and I go to the back of the salon. And as I'm walking towards the back, the lady at the last stall on the left saw me coming and left her client there and went around in front of me and into another set of doors into a back room. She returned. Um, she returned to the doors to me with this plaque, decoupage looking piece of wood with a picture glossed over on it, and it had a picture of a black man And in those days, when they draw pictures or caricatures of us, it was always like with a rope around our neck, with knives stuck in us. And here's this black man in this thing, and then she's showing this to me. And she says, "Here, sign this." And I said, "I am not signing that." And I turned and walked away from her back towards the entrance of this salon. And as I approached the front of the salon, power of your blackness will set you free. The power of your blackness will set you free. I sat straight up in bed. Wow. Wow. So now I'm listening to Chief Amachi. And he's saying, your ancestors, they come in your dreams. When he does these spells, the next day they go to sleep. They say, and he talks about the dreams. I said, wow, they've been calling me. I had this dream when I was in my late teens, early 20s. From that day forward, yes, blackness is really, really important. Blackness is really, really powerful. Blackness. I mean, look, this is my definition. I'm coming up with this. It's not new. It's not. You call it what you want. Africanness, blackness, but the blackness, the melanin, is some powerful stuff. It came in my dreams and it has directed me my whole life until such time as I ultimately said, you know what? Better go to Africa. Better go. It's a place where I need to go. Because why? I am mad as hell. What am I mad at? I'm mad at America. In 1992, I was pretty sick of America. Had my fill. Had my fill of America. And that's when I was taken up almost as if by a magic carpet. And the life changed 180. Blackroot Science talks about many, many things, but it was authored by an African griot. I believe him to be a man of integrity because I don't believe you can be connected to Africa and lose all your humanity and your integrity. I don't think as a black man you can do that. My blackness is my integrity. So, I would like for everybody to read Blackroot Science. I don't want to. I could sit here for a long time and talk about this, but I'll dish out a few numbers to try to put this into perspective for everybody that's watching today. Now we know that every culture has its creation story. From Judaism to Christianity to Islam to Krishnas to Buddhas to Hindus, on and on and on. Everywhere in the world, every tribe, every group of people has a creation story. Some of them go back thousands of years. Some of them go back millions of years. Oldest one I've heard about is, according to Blackroot Science, is 78 trillion years. 70, yes, I said 78 trillion years. How long have white folks been here? Last number I got says 6,000. So if you subtract 6,000 from 78 trillion, what do you get? Let's do some math here. But yet, we live in a world where these people have created havoc with us, with our lives. And now it's time for us to wake up, smell a coffee, and begin behaving in the godlike manner to get rid of this monkey off our back. It's all up to us to do these things. I've had to take full responsibility for anything that's happened to me. And then once I took full responsibility, I make changes. That's just my personal thing. But I like to share stories. I love my brothers and sisters. I love my black people. I understand, according to Black Root Science, just how profound and just how important that is to love my black brothers and sisters. That doesn't mean everybody of one darkness. That means all of the people who manifest the type of morality in the world that we need to see, that we need to experience, that we need to exist. The type of patience and dignity that we possessed as people before this Atlantic slave trade brought us here and injected us with a bunch of complete nonsense. Eh, Let's talk prophecy. Because you know what? When people talk biblical prophecy, you know what? Cool. If you see it, if you read it in there, cool. I am not talking about biblical prophecy. I'm talking about prophecy that's happened to me. This is something that made me understand on a deep level what I was facing. And it wasn't until my then fiance, soon to be wife, arrived here in America. Because we had another incident. I mean, come on, it's like Africa when I went was beautiful. It had its problems. I ain't gonna lie. It still has its problems. But there's a reason I ended up in Tanzania. There's a reason that the first day I got there, I laid eyes on this woman that I'm still married to today. There's a reason it continues to call me because all of the answers and the questions that I've been asking are being answered just all the way through. Everything's being answered, answering all the questions, all the things that are happening. So, um, as I lose my train of thought, um, anyway, Africa's wonderful. It's like being there, going to Tanzania, feeling the respect, but then it was the prophecy, like I say, when I was writing letters back and forth to this woman, and I can tell you what, I had the utmost respect and admiration for her and the way she responded to me. It was the most romantic interlude I never thought that I would experience in my life. And it has lasted for this day. I have the utmost respect and admiration for my wife. And she, look, she's a Christian. I ain't gonna lie. But she has a heart unlike any other person I've been around. She has a way uh, with food. I have never seen another person deal with food the way she deals with food, and the way that we have both learned how to heal ourselves with food. That is one of the most African, the most Black, and the most profound things that we have together. But the prophecy she brought to me came in the form of a piece of paper she had. She wrote a saying on there, an African saying, and she tore it up, threw it away. And I was watching her as she did this, and I was like, I wonder what she wrote. Because, I got this Swahili dictionary. It's like, you know what? I'm going to be sneaky. I'm going to go get that paper. And I went and got it and put it together and took the words and tried to go through the book and try to decipher it. Couldn't do it. It's like, come on, I'm not a linguist. But at any rate, prophecy said, Dunia hada ulimwengu shuja. Dunia hada ulimwengu shuja. Which means the world is a fraud, but the universe is hero. The world is a fraud, but the universe is hero. How do I take that? Tell me what ain't fraudulent. Let's start with that. Because at this point, it seems easy to tear down every institution that exists in most of the world as it exists today as fraudulent, completely fraudulent. They're anti everything in our almost anti existence, our whole existence. Cities are like anti life with the amount of toxins that you are bombarded with every day. And when you are bombarded with toxins, you can't even think right. When you're ingesting toxins, you will never figure out why you can't think right, but you're full of toxins. And until you eat right and purge those toxins, you won't even know what I'm talking about. Say, man, what? Oh, God, he's talking about food again. Oh, man, I don't want to give up barbecue ribs. I could put it in a religious context and say, look, if you believe in God, why are you not obeying him when he already told you what to eat? He already told you what not to eat. I worked with a pastor. One day I told him, I said, you know what, pastor? I says, you know what? I ended up losing 100 pounds. He said, and you know how I did it? I said, I did it by obeying God, but I don't believe in God. And he looked very confused at me. He didn't get that. He didn't get it. He didn't get it at all. And I understand why he didn't get it because, it was my own expression. According to Black Root Science, God is 1,008,000,000 Black people, men and women. They are the creators. 144,000 came from the planet Sirius, were planted here to create this world. They created it and multiplied and lived here for trillions of years. Until such time as a man by the name of Yakub, who I still have doing quite a bit of research on. Yakub is the man that started creating races. He started experimenting to separate genes and create lighter people. The Nation of Islam will verify my story. My man Louis Farrakhan will verify my story. Black Root Science says the same thing. Fard Muhammad, Elijah Muhammad, Yakub. What was it about Yakub? Well, he was a black man. According to what I read, he's a Muslim. But the people at the time were dissatisfied. So Yakub had an idea. He said, let's create different kind of people. He wanted to separate genes. They were calling them germs, whatever, in the womb of the black woman by only keeping the lighter skinned babies and killing the black ones. He was able to accomplish this his goal in 600 years by ultimately creating the brown race, the yellow race, and then a white race. If you want to call them that. They're all still black people. They all come from black people. Scientists will verify to this day that all DNA comes from Africa. But Africans weren't just in Africa. Let's get real. We were all over the world. We went everywhere. We weren't just in Africa. The world belonged to us. We made the world, according to Black Root Science. So why wouldn't we be everywhere? So, when you read as much as I have, especially from white scholarship, from European scholars, these stories they write don't always add up. Their directions are always seem to be, finite. They don't go very far, beyond a certain point. They gloss over at a certain they just stop. So I don't know. I think that when I started listening to just black scholars, some different stories started to emerge. Some different information started to emerge. This information comes way before the white scholars were even here. I love my brothers, my black African brothers, and it hurts me to see anyone shot in the streets. Uh, but I take particular issue with black men still being killed today in America because America has a very sordid history of the mistreatment of blacks, very and in a very immoral manner, and it continues today. And it is up to black people to change this. It's a part of our job. We're training to be gods once again. In the midst of massive suffering and oppression, we've got to learn how to overcome this system. And it's much simpler than we even think or believe because they let us to believe, oh, it's going to be this way or that way. So no, 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 no. It's going to be the way that's going to work. And it need not be violent. Gandhi style, no. I mean, because you don't even have to protest in the streets. You don't even have to tell anybody. But it can be changed, and we are changing, and the world has to change for a better. There's a lot of misbehavior, and unfortunately, a lot of misbehavior can be directly attributed to a bad diet. Food has always been one of those problems that causes bad behavior in everyone. It causes such bad behavior that it causes addictions and it causes our family members to die of things like strokes, diabetes, cancer, testicular cancer, breast cancer. But then again, is the cancer killing us? Really? Is it the cancer that's killing it? Or is it the food that you have been taught to eat? You've been taught to eat certain foods and you love the foods. I love the foods. I eat the foods for 60 years until I had a heart attack. What they call a heart attack. But it's the same thing that we all have. We all have the same problem. There's only one disease. It's called toxemia. It's only one disease. So, man, I could go on about this. But Black Root Science has brought a lot of these things into the forefront, along with the other people that I mentioned in previous videos about my journeys to Africa, my diet, and on and on. And there's a lot of things about me that I just love to share, and I want to share some more. So I'm thankful that I'm still getting subscribers. I never really thought that I would, but I do want to do more videos because I have a lot to say, a lot of important information. I talk to Black people every day. I support my Black brothers and sisters when I go to work, when I'm out in the world. I share information as much as I can without freaking anybody out, trying to freak anybody out, but unfortunately, the truth does. No, but I can honestly say that the world belongs to us, regardless if somebody's convinced you it doesn't. And it's how you operate in the world. But we have to bring morality back. Morality comes from Black people. Morality and spirituality was the handmaidens that led to the creation of all the major religions, and they all come out of Egypt. They all come out of Black Egypt. The Black people were the ones that wrote the codes of behavior. There's 42 commandments. If you dig deeper, there's probably many more. I think there's could be like over 160. I think somebody answered in one of my videos there. He might have said 360, but the negative sayings, these were in the Egyptian Book of the Dead before the Bible was ever written. So there's always been codes of conduct. As Black people, we need to get back to those. We need to read those and understand those and what that means. If we get back to morality, we can turn the world into anything we want. And every other group in the world, I'm sorry, they just gotta follow along once we reclaim our godliness. Because they look to what culture and what country has not been to Africa to look for something we got. If it's not just our genius, did our genius not build this whole world? Did our brains and our labor, even though it was stolen from us, did it not create every city in this world and every industry in this world that exists practically every continent? Did the Moors not build 17 universities in Spain? What did they teach? What did they learn? What did the Greeks learn? We need to go back through all this history and understand that it's not the whole story hasn't been told. They left out the Black, which happens to be 78 trillion years long. We got a lot of work to do, people, if you want to understand who Black people are. But I see it in Black people. I see it and feel it and experience it in myself. I hear it from their stories. It's in our struggles every day. And the attacks on us as people, we could just be sitting in a coffee shop, my God. And you want to call the police? Really? But that's how America is. America created those people. And they created those perceptions, that fraudulent perception that somehow, just for us existing, we are a threat to somebody else. You white people got to stop that. I'm going to tell you flat out, you white people that do that, you need to get real and stop that. Get that. You get your mind out of the gutter. Because your mind is in the gutter when you do something so stupid and foolish in this day and age. Because Black people are waking up. Your mercy will depend on how you learn to behave in the midst of what you have created and what the Black man has to ultimately change because he has no other choice but to change it. It is a fraud. It is a complete and utter fraud. And until we see that, we won't be able to deal with it properly. But once we see it for what it is, believe me, we will all deal with it properly. So that's what the whole point is, love to share more. I think this is enough. I need to go get busy and do some other things, but I wanted to get this out. So like, share, and subscribe some more if you want to hear some more. I got plenty more to say. Peace and out.